Hello everyone, Victor here. Just wanted to do a quick reteach of what we went over on Tuesday's meeting. I was the one that was leading it this week. So if you missed it, no worries. Stick around, watch the video here. I titled it The Hall of Fame of Faith. We're going to be going over some of the people that had mighty faith that was mentioned in the Bible. Spent more time in detail going over each and every single individual's ways that they showed their faith in the Lord. But I wanted to start with Hebrews chapter 11. I'm reading out of the New King James Version, but we'll only stick through verse 1 through 7 because that's what I taught. We'll go over some points, and then I'll have some questions for you guys at the end if you want to comment in them below. But if you haven't joined, I encourage everyone to go to the website and join and sign up. We have a great community there of men, and we're looking to build it and grow it even more, just to share thoughts and just knowing that you have that support system of other guys that are going through this faith walk here with you. So let me get into the teaching. I'm gonna start reading from verse 1. Just go over verse 1 through 7. I'll stop and break down some extra details. I got a couple of action items that I wanted to point out as well. So yeah, I'll go ahead and start now. So in verse 1 in Hebrews 11, I'm reading out of the New King James Version. It states, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good testimony. By faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which are visible." In a sense, meaning that by faith is hearing the word of God and believing the word of God. We all know the saying, faith without works is dead, which is true to a certain extent. You have to put your faith into action. But the main thing of faith is hearing the word of God, receiving the word of God in your heart, and believing in it. Verse 4 states, "Faith at the dawn of history. By faith, Abel offered to God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, through which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and through it, he being dead still speaks," meaning that his blood is still speaking to the earth from God, which when Jesus came down, Jesus was the better sacrifice, which silenced Abel's cries to the Lord after Cain had killed them. Verse 5, "By faith Enoch was taken away so that he did not see death, and was not found because God had taken him. For before he was taken, he had this testimony that he pleased God. But without faith it's impossible to please him. For he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him." It's important that we all go to find God. We build our own personal relationship with God. It's not about what you're doing, it's about how you are with him when you're seeking him. When you seek him, he will diligently reward you. Enoch was blessed that he didn't get to see death. He actually got taken up, which, you can make that a prayer point, like, Lord, take me as well with you in the same manner, which is one of the things that sometimes I jokingly go with, but I be wanting to go the same way, kind of, take me up, Lord, like, just take me up one day in the whirlwind. For before he was taken, he had this testimony that he pleased God. So we know that Enoch had pleased God based off his faith, right? And then into verse 7, "By faith Noah, being divinely warned of things not yet seen, moved with godly fear, prepared an ark for the saving of his household, by which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is according to faith." All right, so in this, there are three different action items between verse 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? So let's go to the first action item, which is giving to God in faith. So we know that Abel brought his best of his first. Like, he selected it, he brought the best, where Cain just gave God as much as he can give them, right? So that's action item one, is giving to God in faith. All right, now action item number two, when we look at Enoch's faith, is that Enoch believed in him. He walked with him, he was with him, he pleased God by believing in who he is. It says, "For he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him." So we know that he pleased God based off of this testimony and this testimony alone. All right, and then the last one, the third action item, is acting on faith. So we know that Noah was divinely instructed to build this ark. He was warned of things not yet seen, meaning that they've never seen rain before. So for Noah to hear the Lord tell him that he needs to build an ark, and that is going to rain and he's going to completely flood the earth, right? And he had to do this for 100 years. He did it in faith for 100 years. I am sure over time, like, it doesn't say that God came back down and encouraged Noah to keep going after year 53, after year 55, after year 60. I am sure his friends and family and people around the town ridiculed and mocked him, like, "No, you're still building that ark? You've been doing it for 72 years, still building an ark. I don't see anything. I don't see anything happening. I don't know when it's going to happen. But when you get your divine instructions from the Lord and you obey like Noah did, and then I guarantee you that is the reason why he was saved. That's the reason why he got his blessings in his household. One of the questions too is, you know, how did how did God choose Noah out of all the people? But he became the heir of righteousness, which is according to faith. All right. So those are the three pretty much action items and topics that we had discussed. Some of the questions that I left the men in the group on Tuesday, and we actually discussed them, all just sharing our own personal beliefs and testimonies. And I'll do that for you now. Is basically the first one is, what have you offered to God? Is it your best sacrifice? So we know when it comes to offering something to God, the standard is, you give your tithes, you give your offerings. It's a money thing, right? Which sure it is, depending on where you're giving it to. If you're giving it to the poor, the needy, the widows, the orphans, those things, um, that is giving to God. Giving money like that is giving to God, and He will repay you back for those things as well. But God will also instruct you to give in other ways. Maybe it might be to give to your church. Maybe it might be to give to other ministries. Maybe it might be to other people, just to help those in need. But what are you offering? Are you offering those things? One of the things that I am offering now that God instructed me to offer is my time. Okay, I have a lot of free time since I've been called away from the corporate world that I was once in, and I tithe my time to a local food bank. So I'm a personal shopper there. People could come in that actually are in need. They don't have the ability to afford food on their own, and I help them shop throughout the building. And then they just go home and take their food home to their family, or for themselves. And that was one of the things that God led me to do. So what I'm offering to God is my time. And we all know our time is valuable because we could be doing plenty of things. I could be back at work making money for me and my family and just handing out cash. I could be doing that, but what He has called me to do is to offer up my time. And that is one of the ways that I'm giving back to those that are in need. I'm also giving my time now in this ministry, searching, looking for men, looking for people to join, to witness to bring to the kingdom, to seek and to save. So, one of the questions that I challenge you with to think about maybe this weekend is, what have you offered to God? And is it your best sacrifice? Because that is the difference between Abel and what Cain had to offer. All right. Question number two, I will want to leave you with: are you believing in God? Is your faith pleasing to Him? So, personal story for me is, like I already just mentioned, that I was called away from my job, and so was my wife. So we no longer have employment, but He also moved us to an entirely new area. So this is the territory that we're at. We're in Middle Tennessee. It's in Spring Hill, Tennessee. For those that don't know, but we pretty much are believing in what He had directed us to do, what He has said for us to do, and the things that He's shown us that He wants for our lives. So we are believing in His word, and we're believing in Him that is true, and we're giving it back. We find scriptures, we apply it to our life, we continue to move on. That might be different from you, but for me and my family, this is how we're living at this point in time. All right, and that's what Enoch did. And then lastly was, what has God instructed you to do? Have you moved on those instructions with godly fear? As I mentioned before, mine kind of ties into question number two. That, yeah, we heard the Lord tell us to sell our houses, quit our jobs, move here to Spring Hill, Tennessee, and that He'll provide for us, and we did it. So the with us is, we don't know, like, we know what He's promised us and what He wants us to do. We just don't know when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, or why it's even happening in the first place. And if you look at that, you can find yourself in the same Noah's Ark situation. They've never seen rain before, the earth has never been flooded before, and you got this man in the middle of the woods building a boat to house all of the animals in the world and his family. I listened to my divinely instructions. He listened to his divinely instructions. And now we're just sitting in the ark waiting for it to land so that we can get back to our promise when He gives us that rainbow. So those are the things, I just wanted to briefly touch, that we actually spoke about more in depth into our men's meeting on Tuesday. So I encourage everyone to join us as well. Um, we get to just group discuss, go over a bunch of different things. I mean, it's good to hear that you're not alone in it. Is one of the responses that I got when we were talking on Tuesday, just sharing my stories and other people sharing their stories. We're all in this together. We're all in this walk together. We're all in this fight together. We're all just trying to live right, be better men, and do what God is asking us to do. So I encourage you guys to at least take into consideration some of these questions. If you made it to the end, just go ahead and comment in the bottom too on some of the things that you're doing, so we could just build this community and grow together. And I also ask that, men, you just join the group. It's free. There's nothing to it but your time. But your time and, you know, basically your time and your testimony. That's all we have to offer here. And hopefully we could build you up, build you, encourage you, and push you and keep you going in the direction that he needs to do. And we don't want nobody, no men out there to grow weary and well doing. So thank you all. See you guys on Tuesday and catch me in another video.